We have to actually take the burden off of our communities, off of our cities, get these people back to their countries so that we can actually shore up the American people.
Congressman Byron Donalds, it's great to have you with us. Hey, we're going to talk about making America sane again, safe again, great again.
Yeah.
Let's start with your story, Congressman, living the American dream, coming from Brooklyn, tough background, single mom, hopping on a Greyhound bus with a bag of clothes and making your way to Florida.
Right.
Now you're on the verge of being the next governor of the Sunshine State. Tell us a bit more about your background, how you ended up in Florida, and what your goals are going forward for a state that's really been on fire in the best of ways over the past few years.
Well, I mean, look, it starts with my mom. You know, my mother was she really was a foundation for everything. Tough lady, no excuses. Education was key for her, paramount even. She thought that was going to be, and she was right, but her view was, it was the ticket for me out of the inner city. I got accepted to FAMU in Tallahassee, Florida. And so I went on that Greyhound bus at 17, wound up in Tallahassee, Florida, spent 3 years at FAMU, 3 years at Florida State, graduated from Florida State, moved out of Tallahassee, moved down to Naples, got married, had kids. And then about a decade after that, politics came.
Tell us how you made the decision to throw your hat in the ring and get involved in politics.
A Tea Party rally was going to be in Southwest Florida. I decided to go just to see what it was about.
And you had always been conservative-minded politically?
No.
Okay.
Politics, this is really the beginning of my journey in politics. I was apolitical like most people. I was a registered Democrat, apolitical, didn't really pay much attention to it. So as I started to pay attention more to everything that was going on, I started reading about political philosophy. I realized that I was actually quite conservative. So I was in the Tea Party movement for a couple of years. The first time I ever ran was in 2012 for Congress. I was asked to run. I didn't know what I was doing. As politics, new to me. Electoral politics, definitely new to me. But we learned a lot, worked really hard, did very well in that race. And stayed involved politically. And then when we started looking at like Common Core and a lot of that stuff happening in education, my wife and I started getting really passionate about we were always passionate about education, but became more passionate about it.
Yeah, hey, you've got 3 kids.
Yeah, we helped to start
It's
a charter
personal.
school, did that, and then in 2016, a state house seat came open. I ran for that and I won.
Yeah, and now you're on the verge. You've thrown your hat in the ring to be Florida's next governor after Ron DeSantis finishes his term. President Trump has endorsed you.
Yes.
What do you bring to the table for Florida?
For me, it's a couple things. One, Florida is going to be the financial capital of the world. We're already seeing the movement of people from New York and Chicago in the financial services space. Digital assets has really found a home in Miami. And so when you look at Florida going forward, my mission is that finance and tech, that Florida is the place to go in the United States. Transportation, we've taken on millions of people through COVID-19. I call it the great COVID migration. So we're gonna have to clean up our transportation systems, really clear out those arteries. Third, insurance, big topic in our state. We're starting to see some good news on insurance, but there's more work to be done. And then the last piece of this is making sure that children in Florida get a world-class education. And I guess this is where it comes full circle for me personally. The thing that will set a child off in a trajectory to be successful is having the best education possible.
How much that involves eliminating DEI programs, diversity, equity, inclusion, of course, in Florida, but at the federal level. How important has it been, Congressman, for President Trump, Governor DeSantis in Florida, to say, hey, DEI, those days are over?
DEI is gone. We're not going to embody that in Florida. We're not doing that. Secondly, I will tell you that what President Trump is doing here on Capitol Hill, getting the federal Department of Education out of the way of the states is going to be critical. Curriculum mapping is going to be important. The books you have in front of kids are going to be important. The intentionality on children, not just achieving grade level, but achieving proficiency, that's going to be very important. Other piece of that is making sure kids are having the ability to know what career paths are in their communities, not just the college paths in their communities. You could have a child coming out of high school right now with a welding certificate, probably comes out and makes $45,000. With the advanced welding certificate, they would be able to make $125,000. If a child has the right credentialing coming out of high school, they can go to work in basically almost any auto dealership, make $75,000 a year. just coming out of high school, not having to go and take on college debt. If a child and a family decide that college and university is the pathway, then let's make sure you know all the things in front of you to be able to do that and be successful. But it's about multiple pathways, multiple ladders of success for young people that they know about early on.
How important are President Trump's tariffs and getting to a point where we have fair trade? How important is that to reset the American economy?
Fair trade is essential to this. There have been trade deals in this country that are just terrible. We cannot allow for terrible trade deals. We cannot allow, and this part is mostly our fault, we cannot allow not to enforce our trade deals. And the United States has been terrible at trade enforcement. We actually need to enforce the deals that we write. President Trump is in the process of resetting all of this so that domestic production in America, domestic strength in our economy, not cheap products from every other part of the planet, actually having supply chains here in the United States, near the United States, nearshoring a lot of stuff. All of that creates a balance where America is on stronger footing going forward, and we have strong trade agreements that are enforced, which are fair to our companies and fair to our people, fair to other countries, fair to their companies, fair to their people. But on that playing field, you can have true free trade. You couple that with sound tax policy. We're going to extend President Trump's tax policy, make it permanent in a lot of areas, bring in the new stuff, no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. These are things that are really going to help people at the bottom. Last piece is we have to cut regulations and cut spending here in Washington. If we can accomplish those four things in this year, it will be a monumental, not just lift, it will be monumental success for America's economy today, and the trajectory of America's economy into the future.
Yeah, you mentioned workers, wages for working class folks, how that's going to go up. It's amazing. A lot of what you're saying, Congressman, is just plain common sense, what you're advocating for here on the Hill, what President Trump is advocating for. But we live in times where common sense is not so common, I guess you could say. That includes under the Biden-Harris administration, where there was literally an invasion of our country.
Right.
It seems that's over. And I would go so far. This is a miracle at the southern border. I don't think it's an exaggeration, Congressman, that it is probably more secure than any time we've seen, at least in my lifetime.
It's not a miracle. It's the reality when you have common sense leadership.
Yeah.
When you have leadership like we had with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that ignores reality for some vision that is just not possible, and when they lie to you, or even better, when they ignore you, because the Biden administration was the least transparent administration we'd ever seen. You never saw him. He never talked directly to the American people. Kamala Harris didn't talk directly to the American people. There were no press conferences. They wouldn't respond to inquiries from members of Congress. At the beginning of that administration, they were forcing COVID-19 vaccines on everybody. They fired 30,000 or 40,000 troops out of our military that objected to it. They were trying to use OSHA to push down vaccine mandates on every worker in America. This is how obscene that administration was. Oh, and by the way, they said we need a law to secure the border. And they just let tens of millions of people in.
Immigration reform, as they would call it.
We need comprehensive immigration reform. And like President Trump has now famously said, no, you didn't. You just needed a new president. Because he comes in, shuts it all down. You are correct. The border has never been this safe. And what we now have come to realize, which I knew and so many of us knew, but what I think what the American people have come to realize is that it is about strengthened leadership. It is a commitment to common sense. It's a commitment to standing against the fear mongering and the idiocy from the Democratic left and actually doing sensible things. So now we have a secure border, and we're going through the process of first deporting criminal illegal aliens. The president campaigned on it, promised it, and he's doing it. And then we're going to have to go and send a lot of people back home to their countries because Chicago can't hold them. Denver can't hold them. New York can't hold them. Miami is not going to hold them. Governor DeSantis and the legislature have led the way on that. We have to actually take the burden off of our communities, off of our cities, get these people back to their countries so that we can actually shore up the American people at the bottom, help them find those ladders to success that we talked about earlier.
How do we stop these rogue judges, Congressman? I would call them rogue, left-wing, radical, activist judges who, as you said, President Trump's trying to do the right thing by our country, deport hardened criminals, illegal aliens, And even at the district level, he's being blocked by these rogue judges. Anything we can do about that?
Well,
on the Hill, can something be done?
Well, I think specifically on the Hill, what we have to do is we have to actually redefine the boundaries of the judiciary, especially at the district court level. Look, federal judges, their role is to interpret law about its constitutionality, not make decisions to impact the execution of stuff from the executive branch. That's not their job. Federal law is actually quite clear today. The president has the ability to deport criminal illegal aliens. He has the ability to deport anybody. Barack Obama was deporting illegal aliens.
Exactly.
Bill Clinton deported illegal
Non-citizens.
aliens. They did that. No, not you're an illegal alien. I'm not even going to say a non-citizen.
Exactly.
Because it's
They
either
don't
you're a
get due
citizen
process.
or you're an alien.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And so is there an element of due process? Yes. But it is not the level for a United States citizen. It's just simply not the same thing. If we say as a government that the president has identified people that came in this bucket and said we are going to issue deportation orders, the president has the ability to do that. And we're going to do it.
Internationally, you've been a staunch advocate for Israel.
Yes.
And right now, Israel obviously in a perilous position, Iran developing nuclear weapons. You have Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis launching ballistic missiles. Why, for an American audience in particular, why is standing with Israel at this particular time so important for every American? Why is Israel and that alliance a benefit to the United States?
Well, I'm going to come back to Israel in a moment, but there's one thing I want to make sure I stay on the other topic about immigration. Yeah. The rationality from the Democratic left is that a presidential administration can ignore our border security protections and let tens of millions of people into the country, and then in the same breath say, you can't then turn around and send them home. You now have to put them through judicial proceedings. The truth is, we don't have enough administrative law judges. We don't have enough district court judges to hear all these hearings for the tens of millions of people that they let in. So just operationally, it is impossible to do. Yeah. So the prudent thing and the smart thing is to let the president do his job and send people home. Now to Israel. Standing with Israel is critical at this point, not just in American history, but in world history, because I do take the Iranians at their word. They want to wipe Israel off the map, and then they want to come after us. It's in our interest to stand by Israel. Number two, the tragedy that was put on to the Israeli people on October 7th, the United States would never tolerate something like that to occur to American citizens. Israel, in my view, has actually been very deliberate in how they've gone after Hamas. I gave this analogy. If the drug cartels went into San Diego and did what Hamas did in southern Israel, we would have wiped the drug cartels off the face of the earth. Absolutely. And it wouldn't have been close. And I know that's tough talk. People are like, oh my gosh, you're fear mongering. You want to be a warmonger. No, I don't. I just know what our response would be. That would be a response that the American people would want to see. And so what I want is harmony and peace. But there has to be accountability on both sides of that ledger.
Peace through strength.
Cannot have peace through strength. You cannot have Hamas or Hezbollah or something like that go in, literally cut babies out of the wombs of mothers and put the babies in an oven. That's horrific. It's barbaric. And so we must stand by Israel. Israel must finish the job in Gaza. Hamas cannot be allowed to take leadership in Gaza again, period.
The Hamas supporters in this country, Congressman, that President Trump is saying, hey, we're going to get them out of here. How important is that to send a message not only to Harvard, Columbia, these universities that have been harboring Hamas supporters, even employing some of them as professors? Right. How important is that to send that message, to get people who openly support a barbaric terror group, which you just laid out, to get them out of our country?
If you're in our country, you are a guest. It is not a promise to stay. You don't have a right to be here. We allow you to come. Especially you come in from other countries to come here and go to college and to learn. We are giving you a privilege to come into the United States. If you are doing things that will have an ability to alter the foreign policy objectives of the United States, and Secretary Rubio has spoken to this, in my view, masterfully, then yes, we have the right to send you home. And we're going to send you home. You can, in my view, you cannot allow outside entities to come into your country and sow dissent, sow hate, sow outrage, and sow things that are against the foreign policy interests of your country. And for people who say, oh my gosh, but we're America, we live to a higher standard. We do have a higher standard. We do have moral clarity in the world. We do. Let me tell you this, you can't do that in China.
That's right.
The Iranians won't tolerate an American student going to go to college in Iran and talking about and leading pro-American protests. They're not allowing that.
Right.
And all we're saying is we're going to send you home. In some of these other countries, I don't want to speak about it. So we have to be clear-eyed. There has to be moral clarity. There has to be a set of principles that we are going to live by. If somebody is here in our country and they have their views, that is one thing. But if you're going to lead or be engaged in protests that lead to discrimination, lead to intimidation, blocking other students from getting their education who are U.S. citizens, oh no, I'm sorry, you can't stay. And I think that the principle for this, I have 3 sons, all right? My sons have friends, they come over my house. My son will ask me, hey dad, can they come over? We're gonna be downstairs. My 17-year-old son, we're gonna sit downstairs and play cards and watch the playoffs, NBA playoffs right now. Yeah, sure, go ahead. If one of those kids is coming into my house, causing a ruckus, breaking up stuff, oh no, you have to go.
He's a guest.
You're a guest. You got to go. And so that's the whole principle. You're in our country as a guest. Respect not just our country, but respect our principles. If you can't respect our principles, then why did you come in the first place?
Yeah. Congressman, well said all around. Next time, you're a busy man. You probably got a vote here on the Hill. Next time, we'll talk a little China as well.
Sure.
Congressman, keep up the great work. Good luck in the run for the governor's seat in Florida. We appreciate it. God bless. Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.